আচ্ছা, ফার্স্ট তো অবশ্যই মাইক্রো ইকোনমিক্স। আচ্ছা, একটা জিনিস আগেও আমি বলেছিলাম, তাও বলি আরবার, সেটা হচ্ছে যে আমাদের মাইক্রো যে সিলেবাস আছে সেইটা খুব একটা বড় নয়। খুব একটা বড় নয় বলতে মানে সেমেস্টার সাইজে সেটা স্ট্যান্ডার্ড, কিন্তু স্ট্যাটের যে সিলেবাস আছে সেটা হিউজ। হ্যাঁ, এবং মানে লিটারালি ইটস হিউজ। তো সেইটা একটা problem that we have to solve through finishing macro and micro quicker than usual and then taking up those classes in the end to study statistics. ঠিক আছে, ওকে, বেশ। ফার্স্টে what we have is, আমি এটাকে বলি হচ্ছে extensions of consumer behavior. The basic consumer behavior model যেটা ছিল, comprising utility and budget line and everything that we have studied earlier. Okay, now we have some extensions. Number one, which is standard extension, is intertemporal choice. Intertemporal choice is a topic which also appears in macroeconomics under the chapter called consumption. Okay. All right. So intertemporal choice is basically two-period structure. So two-period model, essentially applying all the structure of IC and budget line together in a system. Okay, and it is made by Fisher. But the reason behind the construction of such a model of intertemporal choice that lies in macroeconomic questions. So for the time being, we have it in micro, and that said, when we will have to read this in macro, we will simply refer to what we have studied in semester 3, because I think intertemporal choice as a topic of macro will appear in the next semester. Okay, so that is there, but entirely the model is basically microeconomic model. We will take one individual and we will consider two periods of consumption, and then we will apply the standard structure. But there will be a lot of things which are different. Okay, this is number one. Number two is revealed preference theory. This is a theory essentially constructed by Paul Samuelson. And this theory is not really an extension of consumer behavior. It is more of looking at the consumer's demand curves generation, that is how the consumer's demand is generated, from the other way. So earlier we have seen, or we have taken an IC, and then we have talked about the budget line, and then we have derived the optimal choice. In revealed preference, it's something else. Here we'll start with choices made by a consumer, and then we'll go backward. We'll say that given those choices and some consistency rules, we can generate the, technically speaking, the IC. Though there is no IC in revealed preference theory, but we will see how this revealed preference theory and its comment on consumers' demand creates a system which is obviously equivalent to what we have studied. Remember one thing: whenever there is a new theory on the same topic, in general, what happens is this: it it shows the old theory as a special case or a more restricted case. Okay, in very few cases, it happens that the new theory actually refutes the old one. Generally, we have this idea that whenever we are talking about a new theory, it refutes the old one. It's not really the case, and in most of the cases it is the opposite thing that happens, that the new theory shows that it works in a far more generalized setup than the older one. So the advantage with revealed preference theory is that we do not need indifference curves. Okay, number 3 is uncertainty. And I must say at first, at the very beginning, that this chapter, uncertainty, it requires mathematical skills. Okay, this is the topic where you will need things that you may have covered in statistics, like mathematical expectations, and then some probability distributions, etc. Okay, so we have statistics here because it essentially deals with risk calculations, fair premium of an insurance, all right, gambling to start with. So it has it has actually a lot of mathematical workings. But the important thing is the structure that will take to capture uncertainty or consumers' behavior under uncertain situation is we will use a term called lottery, and this term will allow to treat uh, the scenarios in terms of consumption bundles, the, let's say, the payoff involved with which is uncertain. All right, so that's it's a bit of, it's a slightly complex system, but here you will find some other names like John von Neumann to be start with, and other names. Okay, so this is the third one. Number 4 is we have labor leisure choice. Now this topic, labor leisure choice, it appears basically as a topic in the input market. Okay, if you look at the syllabus, this topic comes under input market because the end result, the objective of studying this is to get this thing, labor supply curve. That's getting, this is our objective here. Now in general, consumer behavior talks about demand, right? So here we will basically, this, when we'll be applying the standard model of consumer behavior in labor leisure choice, our objective will be to find the demand for leisure. That will be our objective, because the theory can generate a demand curve, it cannot generate a supply curve. So we'll go for the demand for leisure, then we will say that the time available to a consumer or a labor is fixed. Okay, it's limited to 24 hours. So if I have got the demand for leisure, then subtracting it from 24 will give me the labor supply curve. So this is the approach that we will take in this chapter, and this is the reason that I'm saying all of these are extension of consumer behavior. Then we will have a small topic which deals with basically the use of index number in consumer behavior. Now these are the uses are quite famous, right? We know about we heard at least about consumers price index. Okay, so we'll talk about that a little bit. We have also studied this uh, in a very small way in macro, when we are dealing with the the underestimation and overestimation of Laspey's and Pastor's index in the chapter related to GDP. So I've studied there, but there we have used those indices in a macroeconomic setup. Here we are going to use these indices to talk about in a more micro setup. Okay, we will talk about purchasing power of money and all that. Now, this topic, it has a layer. The layer is this: in your statistics syllabus, if you search, there is no topic under the name of index number. Also, if you search, you will see there is a in the reference of micro there is a book of statistics. So that makes the the content of this topic quite clear. When we'll be studying this, we'll start with a very statistical notion. What are the index numbers, their formulation, construction, and everything. It is because of this reason it is excluded from the statistics syllabus. And then we will look at its role or the role that it plays in uh, consumer behavior or in demand. Okay, so in that sense, it is obviously not extension of consumer behavior. It is more like a topic within the consumer's demand. But these four, they are definitely the extensions. Okay, now Let us talk about the books. Up till this point, the rest of the syllabus is basically quite easy. Okay, and they are quite linearly connected also. So these chapters, one of the thing is that these 5 topics, they independently connect to consumer behavior. Okay, there is no continuation in these 5 topics. It's not like intertemporal choice and then comes reveal preference and all that. It's not like this. All of them, they independently connect to consumer behavior. Okay, all right. So then now I will talk about some books. Okay, intertemporal choice is a topic which is technically speaking, which is quite difficult to get in good exposition in most of the books. So here we will follow SRC. Okay, SRC is microeconomics. Okay, I will talk about these books separately also. Okay, so we'll study it from SRC microeconomics. We'll look at the treatment and also we'll solve problems from this book. Okay, in macroeconomic books or books of macroeconomics, you will find this chapter, this topic also, but the treatment that is there is very different from the treatment uh, we'll be learning. Okay, so this is from SRC microeconomics. Okay, labor-laser choice, will read this from Parloff. So this will read from Parloff. Okay, for uncertainty, it's better that we will take a book which is or 2 books we'll take which are more mathematically inclined. Okay, so that we can go into the difficult levels and we feel good about solving problems using a lot of mathematics. So for that we have, okay, so for uncertainty we have 2 books majorly I will follow. Number 1 is Snyder. So there is a book of Nicholson Snyder, right? And the second one, is a hard one, but still it's the best treatment of uncertainty. That is Gravel and Rees. So Gravel and Rees. Okay. And regarding reveal preference is given in all the books in a very kind of sketchy way, and then that's fine because we'll not be going into very deep of this theory. One of the major concern about reveal preference theory while we'll be learning this here is, here also we will show in reveal preference theory that the substitution effect that becomes negative. Okay, so here we will have Parloff and it has good problems, and then Snyder. Okay, index number, for this index number will use a mix of stat books and also micro books. So in a sense I will talk about this from Gungupta volume 2, because that is what contains the index number. So Gungupta volume 2, and then a mix of all these books, because after learning index number, what we are left with in this topic is basically solving some problems, okay, related to increase in price and how that affects the consumer's demand and all that. So that's not really typical to any one book. Okay, so this is our structure. I'll just say it again: intertemporal choice from SRC, reveal preference from Parloff and Snyder, uncertainty from Snyder and Gravel and Rees, label-laser choice from Parloff, and index number from Gungupta, volume 2, fundamental of statistics, which is a pure stat book. Okay, we'll talk a bit about statistics also but that's in the section of statistics. Okay, so then comes the topics which are, as I said, linearly related. Okay, so what are those? they are pretty simple also. Okay, so number one is production. Number one is production. Then comes cost, and coupled with price comes perfect competition. And after reaching perfect competition, we have come a full circle. Okay, full circle in this way. When we started with consumer behavior, the reason or the objective of studying consumer behavior was very simple. It was to get the demand curve. All right. So that was basically the objective. Now, finishing perfect competition will give us the other component, and that's the supply curve. Sorry, the supply curve. And given we have demand curve and supply curve, we will study some parts of this topic. It's called application of perfect competition, or application of let's say, yeah, application of competitive markets or perfectly competitive markets. Basically, we'll be looking at some of the government intervention, because some of the there can be a lot of government types of there can be different types of government intervention, and some of them we have done them actually in first sem. So we'll be looking at a part of those in here. Okay, so let's just say we have started with consumer behavior in first sem, and now after finishing perfect competition, we have come a full circle where we have reached the theory behind the chapter with which we started, that is demand and supply, and then we'll be looking at some of the applications. Okay, so now these three chapters, they are very, very standard. So actually you can study these three from a lot of books. Okay, it can be but I'll suggest that it's better if you study it from Parloff or SRC. Okay, so I'll suggest these two. All right, Parloff or SRC. Even when I'll be teaching all of this, I'll be saying then also. Okay, an application of perfectly competitive market. This we have studied this from part of this we have studied from Pindyck. And Pindyck still is a good reference for this. The diagrams are quite well explained and well drawn. Okay, so our prime reference will be Pindyck, but you can always go for Parloff. Okay, so this completes those chapters which are linearly connected, right? Okay, and since they are linearly connected, we don't have a lot of reference, because you see, since they're connected, it is better to study these three chapters from one single book, because then you will have the continuity of context, and that's very important. Okay, because most of the time what happens is all the books, they refer, when they talk about perfect competition, to some things of cost or production. And if you study these three chapters from two different books, then what happens is you'll be confused. Okay, what the author is really talking about. So that's a problem. That can become a problem. Okay, and now we have a last one, which is a kind of disconnected to all of this, because it's a study of input market. Okay, so it's a study of input market. So we'll be looking at the demand for labor and capital. Okay, all right. The only connection it has is that the market that we'll be considering that market will follow perfect competition. Okay. So technically speaking, when we'll be first studying perfect competition, we'll be talking about perfect competition in product market, and then since input is related to output, with that link we'll be studying the application of perfect competition in input market. Okay, so that completes what we have in micro, and the reference for this one is a bit old book. It's Kutsoyanis, and I'm not sure whether I'm writing the right spelling. So Kutsoyanis. Okay, probably this is the thing. All right. Yeah. Okay. Yes, Kutsoyanis. Okay, so this is the thing. If you don't have, kind of some of the chapters or things like that, as you know, when we'll be learning the relevant topic, I'll send you the, before that, I'll send you the scanned copy or Xerox or something like that. Okay, so now I'm going to erase this and I'm going to talk about, in general, about books of microeconomics and macroeconomics. Sorry, microeconomics. Okay, the reason of talking about in general is this. You see, if we think about the entrance exams, then this year, that is the second year, which has SEM 3 and SEM 4, these two semesters are the most important semesters. Okay, it's because all the questions that can be asked, the theory, the knowledge, the problem solving at a fairly advanced level. And I'm here not talking about their questions. I'm talking about questions that are available in standard textbooks. Okay, so all of that is in this year. Apart from the consumer behavior, all of that is in this year. All right. So we have some chapters in SEM 3 and the others in SEM 4. Okay. So that makes this year quite an important year. Okay. And also, since all of this is a part of your honors, so if you study well, you can have, uh, two things at one go. Okay. So now, first I'll list what I call the basic books. They are basic books because whenever you find something a bit hard to understand or difficult to understand, okay, then you can go to these books. Number one is Varian, okay, and number two, and I'm talking about the Varian's undergraduate book, okay, the undergraduate one, and then comes the Pindyke and Rubenfield. Okay, so I'm saying these two are basic books. Now, Varian is a good book. Actually, the writing is quite good. The only problem that Varian has that sorry, that the textbook doesn't have any exercise. It comes separately, right? It comes in a workbook, and in my opinion, the advanced books that I'm going to list, those have quite good set of problems, and since they have that, unless you need a theoretical clarity, there is no reason of going back to Varian and study it. Okay, now Pindyke Rubenfield, the thing that I like about this book is that it has a decent set of problems. You see, the problems that are available in Pindyke Rubenfield, they are not hard. they're not really hard in that sense, but they're good. They're good because if you find that the idea, I'll say the way of studying is this, that if you find the problems of advanced books that I'm going to write too difficult, then go back and try some of the problems of Pindyck. And if you find them easy to do, okay, then it's a good thing, because then you can infer that for the advanced books, what you need is a bit of patience, probably. Okay, and a slightly better understanding. That's what you need. But even if you fail to solve the problems of this book, then then you infer that, okay, then you have to study the theory from one of these basic books. Okay, then you have a serious lack of understanding. But apart from that, if you can handle advanced books, and I will always ask you to start with this, I will go with this, it's better. Okay, so what are those? Number one is Parlov. So Parlov has two versions. Number one is microeconomics, right? And number two is microeconomics with calculus. Okay, now mostly, see, my suggestion will be this, that we will definitely solve problems from this book, but you, as a standard reference, something, a book that you can use to study every chapter, that's a standard reference. So for standard reference, you can use this book. Okay, and the only difference between these two books is that the second one, it has some derivations, okay, which this book does not have. But otherwise, the content, the diagrams, the problems, they're all the same. So there is no problem in that sense. And to the extent of the missing derivations, if those are important, we'll be doing it in the class, and if we are not doing it, so that's not important. So anyways, uh, I'm saying all of this because this is available in India. Okay, so if you go for this, you will not really lack anything at all. Okay, you will get the whole thing, probably minus some derivations, which, if important, we'll do it in the class. Otherwise, we'll not do it, and so there will be no, there'll not be a serious lack. Okay. All right. Number two is definitely SRC. Okay. Now SRC has a nice set of problems, but as I know, currently I don't think this book is available at all. Okay, it may be available in College Street, but there is no point of going there now. So when will I, if I give any problem or any kind of any part of the text to study from this book, I'll send it. Okay. All right. Number three is Snyder. Nicholson Snyder. Nicholson Snyder. Now this is, the treatment of Nicholson Snyder is fairly mathematical. It is highly mathematical, actually. And one of the reason of which makes it obvious or mandatory to study Nicholson Snyder's problems, at least, not the theory, problems. Okay. If problems is that the problems are quite huge in length. Okay. And that's that sheer size of the problem is dominating, and that's good, because in the outside exams, all right, in the harder ones, that's one way of dominating you, that they will give a problem which is not that hard, but it is so huge that the simple lack of encounter of with such a problem will lead you to make a mistake. Okay, so that's how this book is important. Okay. Also, it's a good mathematical exposition. So I said in some of the sections, we'll study this one. Okay, and then I mentioned two books, right, which we'll use for specific need. Okay, and as I must say that Gravelandries and Kutsoyanis. Okay, so Kutsoyanis, as I said, we'll be looking at it for input markets, and you must know that this combination, okay, that is also needed in the next sem, in the next sem's micro paper. We'll need all of this. Okay, so let me just say it again. These are the books where you can always look back. This is your standard text from which you can read all the chapters. Okay, this is also the book from which we will solve problems, and this is also the book from which we'll solve problem. SRC will use it only in specific cases. Okay, this book will become more useful as we go along. Gravelandries from this here on this sem we'll study only uncertainty from this book, and in the next sem probably a part of oligopoly from this book. This is a fairly hard and advanced book, but it has the chapters which are hard well written. And Kutsenis, this is typically needed for input markets. The complete syllabus of input markets that you have, it is divided in two parts. One is in this sem, one in the next sem. So we'll study the first half from this book in this sem and the other half from the next sem. Okay. Just to clarify, if you don't have any of this, okay, if you don't have these two, that's not a really a big problem, because I'll send the the relevant sections. I'll suggest you buy this one, okay, the microeconomics one. Okay, it's available online, and this one also, because it's a good book, and if you're looking for a mathematical treatment, it will help. This one of you doesn't have this book, and in the parts when we'll be needing this book, I'll send you the relevant sections, photocopies of the relevant sections of this book, SRC. Okay, and this you can. These are books to look back, so you can always look back at them. So one of the problems currently that we are facing is that you don't have the library access, right? If you had that, then the problems would have been easier. But anyways, since you don't have it, okay, now I'm going to finish and I'm going to